ladies and gentlemen and programmers, we're going to get started with the Crab World Lesson 3. We're going to continue on with the Crab Project. All right, so get out your notes, write your name at the top, write Lesson 3 at the top. Your note should be in either a notebook or a binder. And if you open up the little Crab Project, it should look like a little something like this. So if you double click on the Crab class, the code should look like this. So if you have anything different than this, get it fixed up and we'll do it. Your crab should do a little something like this. You hit run, he goes straight, he turns when he hits the edges. That's what we should have so far. Okay, so get everything looking like that and we'll be good to go. Okay, now our current crab always walks straight. When a method, okay, so that is a problem. A crab always walks straight. That's not what crabs actually do in real life. Crabs in real life, they'll like walk straight a little bit, and then they'll take a little turn, and then they'll take a little turn, and they just kind of meander around, kind of randomly, right? So our crab does not act like a crab in real life does. So we need some random behavior. So the way we're going to get the random behavior is using a random number method. The problem is we don't have access to the random number method. We don't inherit, it's not in the crab, and it's not in actor or animal. We don't inherit it, but it does exist, and it exists. Somebody who wrote the Greenfoot class wrote the get random number method that we need to give the crab random walking behavior, right? So write this down in your own words. When a method we wish to call is not in our own class or is not inherited, we need to specify the class or object that has the method before the method name followed by a dot. This is called dot notation. All right, so what that's saying is, if we want to use, how would we write this quickly? I want you to write this in your own words. So when a method is not inherited, we have to use the dot notation, okay? So if a method is not inherited, we have to use the dot notation. That's how I'd write that quicker. But you can write it down word for word if you want. Okay, so so don't write this code yet, okay? We're not ready to write this code yet. So here's the code we already had, if at world edge turns 17, and then move. And at some point, we're going to add into our act method, we're going to add this. This is the code that's going to, at some point, get us some random movement, some random behavior, okay? So, but the idea is that, by the way, if you get out your handout, whenever you see the sissy blue color, it means you're supposed to take these notes on the handout, okay? So the idea is we're going to use the get random number method to get this random behavior we want, but we don't have access to it, so we have to use the period here. That's the dot notation. And before that, we have to tell it where we're getting it. Well, we're getting it, it's found in the Greenfoot class. So write this down in your notes. The period or the dot notation is used when calling a method defined in another class. It's defined in the Greenfoot class. The class name, this is the structure we use, the class name, Greenfoot, then the period, the dot notation, and then the method name. The name of the method is get random number. Okay, and then we put the parentheses. Notice these parentheses are empty. At some point, we're going to have to fill those parentheses. All right, so now this is another handout that we have. The class methods equals a static methods. Okay, so we're talking about this get random number method. It is a static method. It belongs to the Greenfoot class. It does not belong to the crab. It does not belong to any object. Okay, so methods may belong to objects or classes. Okay, when methods belong to a class, we call it like this, Greenfoot dot get random number. So the class name, the period, and then the method name. Methods that belong to a class have a signature like this. We're going to look at this at a static int, get random number int limit. So it says the word static at the beginning, then the return type, then the name of the method, then the parameters. Okay. So this tells us that we need to write the name of the class itself before the dot. So we're going to have to say Greenfoot dot and then use the get random number method because it is static. Okay, write this down. Class methods equals static methods. So basically, I would write this down word for word, or you can write it in your own words, or you can say something like, static methods belong to the class, you have to use the dot notation. Static methods belong to the class, you have to use the dot notation. Something like that. Okay, let's look up the get random number method definition in the Greenfoot class documentation, and then we're going to answer these questions. All right, so let's take a look at, we're going to go here, okay, and we're going to go help, Greenfoot class documentation. Okay, and then from here, here are all the different classes that we can borrow methods from. Okay, so there's the actor, which we already can get everything from actor. color, font, green foot image. These are all ones that we don't inherit. So we could borrow methods from all of these classes. In this case, we want to borrow from the green foot. So we're going to click on green foot, and we're going to scroll down a little bit, and we're going to find the get random number. So it's static int. So we know that this is a static. We know that this is a static method. We're going to have to use the class name, which is greenfoot. So we're going to have to use the dot notation, greenfoot dot. Okay, so here's the question. Let's move this out of the way a little bit. Okay, let's take a look at the questions here. Where'd my questions go? That's not it. Oh, it's over here. Sorry, I lost it. Okay, here we go. So what does it belong to, a class or an object? What is its return type? What does that mean? What is its parameter data type? And what does this parameter do? Okay, so I want you to look at this and answer those questions. You can answer all those questions just looking at this information that we got from the class documentation. Okay, so answer all those questions the best you can. And let's go down to the next one. All right, show me on your okay, so in class, I'm going to have you show me this. What is the class documentation? Okay, well, this right here is the class documentation. It's a way of getting information about methods and classes, things that we can use. All right, so let's jump back, though. I'm going to help you answer these questions. Does it belong to a class or an object? Well, let's look right here. It says right here, static. So we know that it belongs to the greenfoot class, not an object. Next question is, what is its return type? Its return type is, where's get random number? Okay, it's int. That means is it a command or a question? It's a question. Hey, what's the random number? And it answers the question with an integer or a whole number, an integer whole number. What does that mean? It means it's a question and it answers the question with whole numbers. Well, what is its parameter data type and what does the parameter do? So if you look over here, so when we say get random number, we have to give it the limit, okay? And so the limit is the highest. Like, so if I say get random number and it gives me some sort of random number, is it a random number from 0 to a billion, a random number from 0 to infinity? No, we're probably not going to want that. So we're going to give the upper limit. So whatever. So for example, if I said get random, or if I'd say greenfoot dot get random number 20, it's going to give me random numbers from 0 to 19. So 20 different possibilities, but that we have to give it the upper limit. All right, what is a parameter data type and what does a parameter do? The parameter passes in additional data. In this case, it gives us the upper limit. Okay, good. What is a class documentation? It's a way to look up information about a class and all of its methods. Okay, so this is what we were just looking at. All right, now let's talk more about the get random number method. Remember, again, we're using the get random number method to create some random numbers to create random moving behavior. All right, okay, so random number belongs to the greenfoot class. It's static. Greenfoot.get random number 20. So here's a possible way we would use the get random number method. Okay, the parameter specifies the limit of the number and will return a random number between 0 and the limit, but not including the limit. So if we said this, it would give us numbers between 0 and 19. So if we ran this code one time, it might give us a 0. One time it might give us a 1. One time it might give us a 19. One time it might give us a 5. It's never going to give us a 20. It's never going to give us a 25. But every time we run this, it's going to give us a different random number between 0 and 19, which, by the way, is 20 different possibilities. 0 through 19 is 20 different numbers. What possible numbers will the following return? Greenfoot.get random number 100. Write this down in your notes. What will that give us? And okay, so now get out your handout. We got the sissy blue thing, and write this down. Operators, we're going to be using, by the way, everything we're talking about a bunch of different things because we're going to use all these different things to create this random behavior. One of the things we need is operators. So write this down. Let's jump back up to this thing, greenfoot.get random number. That's going to produce random numbers between 0 and 99, if you didn't get that. 0 to 99. All right, write this down. Okay, so operator, we're going to use the less than operator, or the less than and equal to operator. Actually, we're going to just use the less than operator. Okay, so write that down. Here's some other common operators, plus, minus. That's what we use for times. There's greater than, there's less than, there's less than or equal to, Here's greater than or equal to. We're going to use the less than. This is this is equals to. This is not equals to. This is or and. Oh, there's not. You could just have not. Okay. Let's go to random behavior. Let's say we want to program our crab so that there is a 10% chance that he will turn after each step. Okay, so right now he just goes straight until he hits the edge of the world, and then he turns. So we want to make it to where like every now and then he's going to turn. So about every 10 steps he'll probably turn a little bit one time. Okay, so we're going to use an if statement to do that. So we're going to write some code like this: if something is true, turn 5. So the question is, what do we replace in here? What is the something is true? What's code that we can write that's true 10% of the time? Now we need to find expression for something is true. And if statement is also known as a what kind of statement? Okay, an if statement is also known as a what statement, and that is also known as a conditional statement. So if this condition is true, then it actually runs this, otherwise it doesn't. Something is true is called what? So basically the question is, what do you call everything in the parentheses here? Okay, everything in the parentheses is called what? Write that down. Okay, and that is called the condition. Everything in the parentheses is called the condition. All right, we can do this using a random number and a less than operator. The less than operator compares two numbers and returns true. Okay, all right, so basically what we're saying is this equation right here, we can do this using the less than operator. Okay, so we're looking at this, and then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna combine everything we learned into the correct answer to get our crab to turn randomly. All right, the less than operator compares two numbers and returns true if the first is less than the second. So is 2 less than 33? Yes. Is 162 less than 42? False. Okay, what is the following going to return? Is 10 less than negative 25? Is 2 less than 25? Okay, all right, now let's add that to some code. Okay, what's going to happen? So I'm not asking what this is going to return. I'm asking what's going to happen. All right, so let's take what's going to happen here and what's going to happen here. Basically, the question is it going to turn or is it going to do nothing? Those are the two options. Is it going to turn or is it going to do nothing? Okay. Now let's look at these two. So make sure you answer that. Let's look at these two. Is it going to turn or is it going to do nothing? All right. So the question is 8 less than 10? True. So this gets erased. It just puts a true in here. So yes, this is true. So what are we going to do? We're going to turn 5. Okay. Is this true? No. What's it going to do? Nothing. It's not going to turn at all. So in this one, it turns. In this one, it doesn't turn. Okay. Now, same thing. What's going to happen here? Well, let's look at it. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 3, 4, 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Is 5 less than 10? Yes. So it's going to turn. Now, what does the compiler see? The compiler does not see this. All it sees is it takes that, erases it, and puts in a true. So, oh yeah, it's true. Let's go ahead and turn 5. Okay, so when we have our condition here, the condition has to come out to be either true or false. All right. Now, here's the trick. So we're going to use all that, okay? We're going to use all that, and we're going to kind of jump back and take a look at, I gave you part of the answer way back here. Okay, so if greenfoot.get random number, boom. So we need to fill this. So we're going to have our if. I'm giving you the first part, greenfoot.get random number. We got to figure out the next part, okay? So what can we do? What expression is true exactly 10% of the time? Let's go back to it. Okay, write down on paper an expression using the get random number method and the less than operator that when executed, the crab will turn exactly 10% of the time. Okay, and once you get it on paper, you can put it into your crab and see if it works. Okay, and then the next thing is, how would you make it turn exactly 7% of the time? So we'll play around with it, make it happen 10% and then 7%. And so it's going to look like this. Your job is to fill in the something is true. We want the something to be true 10% of the time. Okay. All right. So here's the answer. If at world edge turns 7, here's what we already had. If greenfoot.get random number 100 is less than 10, turn 10 or whatever it is, then we're going to move. Okay, so the reason this works is this is going to produce a range of numbers 0 through 99. Of that range, so the first time this is going to produce a 0. Maybe the second time it's going to produce a 99. Maybe the next time it's going to be a 50. Okay? So of these 100 numbers that it's going to randomly generate, 0 through 99, which ones are less than 10? Well, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many numbers is that? 10. So of the 100 numbers it's going to generate, 10 of them are going to be less than 10. So when this runs, 10% of the time, this is going to be true, and then you're going to turn. So for example, if it produces a 99, 99 is not less than 10, not going to turn. If it produces a 0, 0 is indeed less than 10, it's going to turn. If it produces a 50, 50 is not less than 10, not going to turn. If it produces a 5, 5 is indeed less than 10, it's going to turn. So 10% of the time, it's going to turn. Now what I want you to do is, how would you make it turn exactly 7% of the time? Write that down in your notes, okay? And this should be in your notes as well. Okay, so play around with, try this code, get it working, and answer the question, is the crab move at random? And the answer is no. What two things are not random about the movement? Okay, now make the crab turn a small but random amount. Okay, make the crab turn right and left. And then try running this multiple crabs in the world. Do they all turn at the same time? Yes or no? And if they do, why? If they don't, why? Okay, so here's the solution to make it turn both right and left. So again, this time we're having him turn Greenfoot get random number 90 minus 45. Okay, so this is going to produce a range of numbers 0 through 89. Okay, and if it's 0, what's 0 minus 45? That is going to be negative 45, so it's going to turn left. What happens if it produces a 89? Well, 89 minus 45 is 44, so it's going to turn right 44 degrees. Okay, so not only does it turn at random times, but now it's actually turning random amounts both left and right. So that is the solution right there. All right, here's the quiz. Answer these quiz questions in your notes. And answer these quiz questions in your notes. And when you're ready, go on to part 2.